This is week 21, day 1. For number 1, in a class of 24 students, 3/4 of the students are boys. So the first thing I need to do is figure out how many boys I have in the class. If 3/4 are boys, then I multiply 24, which I put over 1, times 3/4. That would give me 72 over 4. I divide and I get 18. So now I know that I have 18 boys in the class. 2/3 of the boys are wearing tennis shoes, so I have to do the same thing now. I have to multiply 2/3 times 18 to find out how many boys are wearing tennis shoes. So 18 over 1 times 2/3 gives me 36 over 3. I divide again and I find out that I have 12 boys that wear shoes. That wear tennis shoes. So what fraction of the class, because now this is asking me of the class, are boys wearing tennis shoes? So it will be 12 boys out of 24 students, or 1/2. Okay? Wyatt purchased some rope for his ranch. He used 4.5 feet and has 1 2/3 feet left over. How much rope did he purchase? So this is adding 4.5 plus 1 2/3. I find a common denominator when I add. That gives me 5 7/6. Because this is an improper fraction, I have to divide. That gives me 1 1/6, which I add to 5, so that's 6 1/6 feet. Number 3, complete the model to show the product. 2/3, so I did 2 of the 3 columns. 3/4, I did 3 of the 4 rows. That gave me an overlap of 6/12, which is the same as 1/2. Number 4, I divide 55 8/10 divided by 6. Remember, this is the cowboy, this is the horse. Cowboy goes in the horse goes in the house, the horse stays outside. I divide and that gives me 9 3/10. I have the same numbers here, but this value is different. This is 6/10, so I have to change it to a whole number. So I multiply this by 10, multiply this by 10, and that gives me 93. Okay, list my factors of 6, 2, 3, 6, and 1. Factors of 15, 1, 3, 5, and 15. What are my common factors? 1 and 3. Greatest common factor is 3. Day 2. Write 18/4 as a mixed number. That would be 8. 4 can go into 18 4 times. I would have 2 left over from 16 over 4, so I rewrite that as 4 1/2 when I reduce this fraction. Write this as a fraction. Remember, this is the cowboy, this is the horse. The cowboy rides the horse, so I'm on top of that fraction. That will be 5/8. Okay, write 3/4 as a decimal. That's when I divide. 4 can go into 3 0 times. Drop a decimal, annex a 0. 4 can go into 30 7 times, so that would be 28. I subtract, I get 2. Annex another 0, that gives me 20. 20 divided by 4 is 5, so it's 75 hundredths. You have to think about that also. If you have 3/4 of something, 4 tells me if I'm dividing it in 4, it's in quarters. So 3/4 of 4 would be 75 hundredths. Okay, let's do number 2. Which best estimate of 1/6 times 29? I think of 1/6 times 29. I would think of that as 30. 29 is very close to 30. So then I would have 1/6 times 30 over 1. 1 times 30 is 30, and 6 times 1 is 6. So a best estimate, if I were looking at it, would be 5. Why? Because my product would be 30 over 6, and then I would divide. Okay? You have to tell me why you would think that the writer of the problem also gave you that 15 there as well. Okay, so 3 divided by 1/2 means that you are determining how many 1/2s are in 3 wholes. So what I did was I split each of these 3 into halves. How many halves do I have? I have 6 halves. Okay, complete the model below to show this. That's what we did. Then it says for you to stretch. Find 5 and 5 divided by 1/4. So if I were to split each one of these into fourths, how many fourths, and then add 2 more, how many fourths would I have? I would have 20 fourths. Okay. complete the chart by recording the value. 2 to the power of 0 would give me 1. 2 to the power of 1 is 2. 2 to the power of 2 is 4. 2 to the power of 3 is 8. And 2 to the power of 4 is 16. This would be the same as saying 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. I hope you noticed a pattern in this box here. If I multiply 1 times 2, I get 2. If I multiply 2 times 2, I get 4. If I multiply 4 times 2, I get 8. And 8 times 2 is 16. Divisibility rule for 4. Remember, the last two digits have to be divisible by 4. I can divide 64 by 4 without any remainders. I can do the same for 504, 528, 632, and 756, because 56 is divisible, 32 is divisible, 28 is divisible, and 4 are also divisible by 4. Okay, day 3. Which expression shows how to find the quotient of 16 and 84 hundredths? Remember, this is my unit. This is my tenths and hundredths divided by 4. So 16 divided by 4, 8 tenths divided by 4, and 4 hundredths divided by 4 would make sense. Number 2, if Grace has $23.65 a month and her brother gets 10 times that, then I would multiply that to the power of 10, 10 to the power of 1. I would ignore my decimals, go ahead and rewrite this number with my 0 at the back, and then how many places do I need to move my decimal? If I already started with 2, I would have, should be an extra 0. Yep, there it is, 65. Yep, 65 was there. So then I'd place my decimal here, and now I'm moving over 2 times. 1, 2. That would show me 236 and 50 cents. All right, Seth's grandmother volunteered to make 6 apple pies. Each one needs at least 3/4 cup of flour to make each pie. So I would divide my apple pies by my cups of flour. How many cups of flour would I need? I would need 8 cups of flour to be able to bake 6 pies. All right. Next one, moving on. Let's see, where are we? Number 3. These are patterns again with powers of 10. Remember, if I divide 38 by 10, it's the same as multiplying it times 1/10. So 38 divided by 10 is 3 and 8/10. 38 times 1/10 is 3 and 8/10. I hope you notice this pattern. Remember, these are the two patterns. Multiplying by 10 is the same as dividing by 1/10. Okay? My decimal moves to the left, and I put that in parentheses, that my decimal moves to the left, because we know that our decimal doesn't move, but our digits do. Okay. Evaluate 8 times 5 minus 10 to the power of 1 divided by 2. I would rewrite this problem because 10 to the power of 1 is the same as 10. So 8 times 5 minus 10 divided by 2. Okay, so according to order of operations, I solve multiplication and division depending on which came first. Multiplication came first, so I multiply 40. I rewrite minus 10 divided by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So now I rewrite 40 minus 5 equals 35, and so my answer is 35. 54 minus 6 times 2 to the third power. First thing I do is solve for my exponents. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. So I can rewrite this, and that would be 54 minus 6 times 8. 6 times 8 is 48. 54 comes down, then I subtract. 54 minus 48 is 6. Day 4. Valerie uses 75 hundredths of a pound of carrots to make carrot cake. She bought 6 pounds of carrots. How many carrot cakes can she make? So figuring out how many cakes she can make, I'm dividing my pounds that I bought by how much it takes to make a cake. So I would need 75 hundredths. Now I rewrote this as a fraction just because we've been doing fractions. You can also divide this out this way, where you divide 75 hundredths into 6. The first thing you need to do is move this over 2 times, and then the next thing you would do is move that over 2 times as well. 75 times 8 gives me 600. If I were to write this as a decimal, this decimal as a fraction, I would keep change flip. I would keep 6, change the sign to multiplying, flip it, I would get 100 over 75, and then I get the exact same thing, 600 divided by 75, which equals 8. Okay? Kroger is 4 miles away from Mario's house. After walking 3/8 of the way there, he stops at Quick Trip to get a soda. How far has he walked? If he's only walked 3/8 of 4, I need to multiply to find 3/8 of 4. So I multiply and I get 12/8, or 1 3/8. Now it says how much further does he need to walk. I subtract how much he walked from where he needs to go. So the first thing I need to do is regroup, because I cannot subtract this fraction from a whole number. So I'll rewrite this, I'll rename it to 3 8/8. Okay? This 8/8 means it's 1, so 1 plus 3 is 4. So now I can subtract because I have a fraction and a fraction. Okay? So 3 minus 1 is 2, and 8 minus 3 is 5. So my answer will be 2 5/8. Number 3, I would have to rename as well. After I find my common denominators, I found my common denominator, which was 6. So that would give me 4 7/6. Once it would give me 5 1/6, but I would need to rename it. So that would give me 6 6, and then I added 1. So that gave me 7 6. So 4 7/6 minus 3 4 6 would be 1 3/6, which can be simplified to 1 1/2. Okay? Just know that if I'm taking a big number and I'm changing them into dimes, what are dimes? I would be dividing this by a tenth, and this one I would be dividing by 100th. Okay? Alright, next one, list all of my prime numbers. If I have any numbers between 83 and 53, that would be 79, 73, 71, 67, 61, and 59.